All right. Finally. Spent the last 10 minutes wrestling with the Bluetooth. Figured I'd hang out a bit and see if maybe anybody wanted to chop it up. You just never know. At the risk of being P bombed again. P bombers unite. And whew, just had me some canned herring and some black beans with some habanero sauce. Got me to sweating. Man, I went and got more. Went to the grocery store and picked up some water. I'm all stuck up on water. Some lady in there, I'm pretty sure it's this black lady with her perfume, looking chemically attacked, man. I was chemically attacked in the grocery store. I'm very sensitive to inhalable chemicals. And man, I got a head change. Reminds me that the other day in the library, went in there to use the restroom, and I guess somebody was in there smoking drugs, and I inhaled some of the whatever that was. I think it might have been some opiates. I had to leave the bathroom. What y'all think about that? Man, I tell you, whatever. Oh, I've been doing my stretches this morning. Something's got stirred up. And if anybody heard the morning stream with all that powerful preaching and sort of went out on a high crescendo there at the end, and almost feel like I got an adrenaline dump or something. Yeah. So normally I'd be moving around, walking around, but I figured I'd post up in the car till later, have a little rest, see what's happening. Am I? Hang on. We're fighting Bluetooth issues. Audio. Okay, we're good. We're all right. Maybe I shouldn't have eaten. I went to the grocery store, got more water, and then ate a meal. And this is why it's always best to just go live when the inspiration strikes. Still trying to figure out if I singed my hair or not. I think maybe it's just I have so much gray hair, it just feels different. Maybe the gray hair has a different texture to it than the other hair. It doesn't look burnt, but it feels fucking weird. Some of my hair. Oh man. Yeah, it's a strange day. To recap, I had some very vivid dreams, lucid dreams. So vivid and lucid that I woke up and went back to sleep and had more vivid, lucid dreams after that. So that was interesting. This is one of those days I think I could just go back to sleep, just veg out all day. Something's going on in the tissues. It's this restoration, healing, and it's the restoration, the healing, and the deliverance. It's all accelerating. Oh, and I applied to a bunch of truck driving jobs. Yesterday was Sunday, and they're already hitting me up. And in typical authoritarian fashion, these recruiters want to call me on the phone or email me, but I haven't made my mind up entirely, but I'm pretty sure I'm only going to work on a 1099. And a lot of these companies, they want the driver to have a corporation or an EIN number. EIN, but legally they can just pay me 1099 to my social security number. So I'm pretty sure that that's the only circumstances under which I'll be potentially returning to employment in the short term. So we'll see. Unfortunately, that's more likely to be a fly by night style outfit. You know, there's always the opportunity to get flown out to the greater Chicago area and work for one of these Illinois Russian companies. But problem with that is a lot of them want the driver to work outside the hours of service, and I'm not interested in that. So, and you know, America's so crooked, scam nation, and you know, everybody, like I said, effectively anybody who's getting ahead in the present climate, and probably most of my life, is doing so through fraudulent, illegal, unethical, and or illegitimate means. You know, so what are they going to expect me to do? But then the more reputable, the lesser, the less unreputable companies, I guess, is that the way to say it? And they're all bad, of course, but you know, uh, you know, they get to be the pickiest, the ones that have the highest safety ratings and are the most likely, perhaps, to nickel and dime the driver. I see a lot of nickel and diming of the driver, and you know, a lot of these companies want an escrow. I saw one, they want to escrow $250 a week for the first 10 weeks, so that if the driver tears up the equipment or abandons the rig or does God knows what, they want to have 2,500 in the hole. Right. It's like, no, I'm good on that. But I'm already getting calls. I got another call. Uh, got another call just now. Ohio's calling me. I don't mind Ohio for truck driving, but I think they're going to need to email me. They're leaving messages. Indiana's called. I think my preference would probably be to work out of Dallas Fort Worth. It's a long drive with under these circumstances, but I'm on the verge of just saying YOLO and fucking taking off on foot, Vision Quest style. And I made buddies with this street vendor, and I talked about just selling him my car potentially, but these trucking companies are so untrustworthy. I wouldn't even trust them. And that's another thing with the fly by night Illinois companies. Most of them don't even have terminals. They fly you to the Chicago area. You get assigned the rig, and then off you go. There's no actual terminal or yard, so there's nowhere to park my car. So, you know, sadly, I think the industry is to where, you know, I need an escape route. And yeah, you know, and then what if they don't pay me? You know, what if something happens and I get back to you know, I have no money and I'm not going to have an abandonment on my record. Part of the reason I'm even hireable in the first place is my unblemished record, you know, as a truck driver. It's just crazy, man. The whole thing's fucking nuts, dude. What's up, Joe? Good to see you. Just Mr. Joe Moore in the chat. Oh, I forget I can highlight the comments now. Yes, sir. Indeed. Indeed, sir. Yeah, I'm feeling fucking froggy today, man. I think I might have overdid it with the lion's mane, because lion's mane is supposed to be real good for the nervous system. I think maybe the old CNS might be a little overstimulated, but in a good way, perhaps. Oh yeah, we're getting that healing. Some of this, what I'm doing, like with my right in this area in my neck, I'm used to that being a lot tighter. Oh yeah, it's the good stuff. If anybody's watching the video, Heads pounding. What? Go to Indiana. Why are you telling me what to do, partner? That's such a good idea. Why don't you go to Indiana? Or are you a truck driver? Or is this Goblin? Yeah. I don't pay rent, sir. See, this is Goblin gonna advise me. He's gonna advise a 50-year-old Benton and talking about rent. Motherfucker, I don't pay rent. What is wrong with you? Hilarious. The so-called truth community strikes again. Bozos. Old Goblin trying to climb into the box. I got something for his ass. That's hilarious though. Don't Hey, don't let the fact that you don't have any idea what you're talking about, don't let that stop you. Right. Yeah. There's not cheap rent anywhere, sir. There's no cheap rent. But I don't pay rent. I live in the truck. We'll spare you this time because I'm a big Jesus guy, so we're gonna turn the other cheek. We're gonna forgive the first transgression. Now, does Goblin go to Talcott's channel? Is the question. That's the question. Are you a Talcott? Are you a Talcott chatter? And now we got the conflict content rearing its ugly head as YouTube pushes out the algorithm. All right. Are you from Indiana, Goblin? That's the question. From Indiana. But yeah, that's funny. You haven't paid rent in a long time and have no plans to do so. Probably ever again. No, the cost of living is high everywhere, sir. If you're in the US, the cost of living is high. And see, that's where I'd like to help you people, some of you folks. Just because it's very expensive in certain areas, that doesn't make other areas cheap. There's nowhere in this country that's cheap. Nowhere. Sorry, hate to break it to you. There's only expensive and less expensive. The days of cheap and affordable is over, and it's never coming back. So please, please understand, it is not a thing, sir. There's no version of renting anything whatsoever other than a fucking meth trailer somewhere, maybe, or what my $700 a month, a converted motel I was in. Even that, a person can't just go work a job in Fort Smith, Arkansas. It's what would it be? I'm trying to remember. $11 an hour times 40, 440 on a W-2, three. Let's just say 380 a week. So what's that a month? 380. Let's just go by four. That's 760. 15. It's half your income on rent. It's half the income on rent. That's not affordable. It's not. Should be max 30% all in on housing. It's over, brother. And Fort Smith, Arkansas is considered one of the most affordable areas of the country. It's over, man. There's no cheap, affordable places in the entire US anywhere. Yeah, you want to go buy you a piece of property in the desert somewhere and you think you're going to throw you a shipping container on it or whatever. Hell, that's illegal in most places I'm seeing. Right. Good luck with that. The county's going to show up. Delusional and in denial in my live chat. This is crazy. Delusional and in denial. And got to be correct. Just go ahead and fall on your sword and say you're right, sir. I could adjust my thought process. My name's Goblin, but I refuse to. So let's double down on affordability. There's no such thing. No such thing as affordable in America. It's over. Oh, you agree? Thank you. Yes, it's expensive. Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad. Expensive. Yeah. Well, yeah, like I say, I could work full time for $11 an hour in Fort Smith, Arkansas, and get by paying half my money on rent. That's called subsistence. It's called mere subsistence living. Meanwhile, don't they still tell you that this is the richest country on earth? Right? Oh, America, richest country in the history of the planet or the realm or whatever the fuck it is. I don't know, man. I Googled GDP per capita and it's like number 7. So what, huh? GDP per capita? Right. And it's an asset bubble. Y'all know what an asset bubble is? No, of course not. Yeah, 3K a month is poverty. I hate to break it to you, Goblin. You're living in poverty, sir. The government just hasn't adjusted what they consider poverty. You're living in poverty, sir. I hate to break it to you. What's the poverty threshold in the U.S., United States? No, what is it? What's the for income? Individuals 15,000. That's what the government says. And after taxes, well, if you mean 3,000 to your pocket a month, yeah, I'd say that qualifies. Yep. Poverty. I'd say anything below a grand a week is poverty. That's what I'd say. So truck driving is just enough to keep me out of poverty. Yeah. Uh, but living in a truck. Imagine if I had to try to rent a place, you know. And a lot of people got what do they have? A lot of folks have paying child support, you know, all kind of minimum monthly payments on credit cards and such. And that's why the inflation is going to be out of control. And this is nothing. I hope y'all don't I hope y'all understand this level of inflation is nothing compared to what happened in the 70s and into the early 80s. Mid 60s to the early 80s. The great inflation. That's what the Federal Reserve calls it. And see, the government can no longer crank the interest rates to the moon and keep them high long enough to get inflation under control. So what we see is that the inflation was going up, so the Fed kept raising the rates, and then inflation sort of, plateaued and wasn't going up too bad. And now what are they doing? They're lowering the rates again, you know, which only affects poor people. Rich people don't notice when there's inflation. Rich people don't notice when there's inflation, right? They don't have a clue. No, that's not average. That's median. See, median and average are not the same thing. What is the difference between, and that's household, not individual. See, Goblin. See, this is where details matter. What is the median household wage in the U.S.? Income, rather, in the United States? 83,000 is the median, according to Google, for 2024. 83,000. So maybe it is average. So what's the average? Maybe you're right. I don't know everything. What is the average? What's the average uh, household income? No, it gave me median again. Hmm. I don't know. Does Google even work anymore? It's only going to give me median. Yeah, and then we have something from Reddit saying median household income is misleading, waste of time statistic. Real median household income. U.S. average income. This says 39,000 is the average. But I think that's for an individual. I don't know. Who knows? Who even knows? at this point. What does it take to actually live? What does it take to actually live in this country? I'd say for a person who just lives by themselves, I think you're looking at 150,000 minimum to just, drive an automobile, live in a decent neighborhood, right? Whether that's mortgage or apartment without roommates, So really, probably just say apartment or townhouse or whatever, condo, and you can buy an apartment or a condo or a townhouse if you're into that. And yeah, for folks who live by themselves, I'd say 150,000 minimum. Yeah, minimum. We're just killing time to see if anybody wants to chat it up with me because I'm not going to want to waste too much of my. I probably can't deal with Goblin right now though. But yeah, I don't want to waste too much of my StreamYard time. Tomorrow is Prime Day. Oh, I missed some of Joe Moore's chats. My bad. Definition for in refers to a situation where something is enclosed or surrounded. On refers to a situation where something is positioned above something else. That's interesting, Joe. I need to ponder on that. Well, and that's interesting. Uh, Goblin's talking about living a minimalistic life, but um, yeah, thanks for stopping by, Goblin. But you know, this is being forced on the working class is not going to have a choice but to live a life of minimalism. You know, when 90% of the income goes to pay the rent, there's not a whole lot left for you know maximalism, right? There's not a whole lot left. Hmm. Fucking A, man. I don't feel well. This is the healing, though. Oh, yeah. This is the healing. Woo! Indeed. Well, and that's another thing, Goblin, talking about you know average home cost at 400K. Well, what about the you will own nothing and you will be happy? I mean, I think it's over with. I think home ownership's done. It's an asset bubble. Under an asset bubble, the working class cannot afford to buy a home. It's just out of reach. Um, Supposedly, uh, when people bought their first home, used to be age 28. Now they say it's 38. On average. So, and the more that the asset prices go up, the more the asset prices go up, It's just simply going to be out of reach. And in the old days, back to the idea of the very high interest rates in the 70s, as high as 20% by the late 70s, what that causes is nobody can get a home loan except people that have strong ties to the community, maybe have some collateral, right? Have a strong income, and all of these things. Because the bank doesn't want, the bank doesn't want the house necessarily. And I just think it's over with regular folks buying homes in the long run. I think it's just done. It's never coming back. Well, it's not that the economy has crashed. People don't understand what the economy is. The function of the economy is to make rich people richer every new moment into perpetuity, and it never fails to achieve its purpose. So whatever it does for the proletariat or the regular folks or the underclass, that's just sort of an accident. That's like an ancillary function. So it's not, but people have been psychologically programmed to believe that the economy is here to serve them. No, the worker is here to serve the rich people via the economy. That's the entire purpose of the economy. And why is it that way? Because a rich person, they have to see their wealth increase every new moment, or they go into an existential crisis and they don't know who they are. And that's like for real. So they have to get wealthier. And the only way for them to get wealthier every new moment is poor people have to get poorer. Now, when the system needs to build up the infrastructure, then you see temporary periods of time with the post-war period, the Ozzie and Harriet and the Leave It to Beaver, where society is sort of built up so that temporarily there's decent job. There's what seems like decent jobs, and people are able to have a wife that's at home raising the kids, and then the man's the breadwinner or whatever. Those days are over. Women out earn men now. I hate to break it to you. It's women that are doing what women are kicking the shit out of men in the workplace. It's not even close. And yeah, it's just crazy, totally crazy. And it's never going back the other way until the system needs it to go back the other way. And once the technology and the automation and the robots take over enough, there won't be a reason. There won't be a reason to have, rootin' tootin' red blooded American males, doing all these jobs anymore. And this is the transition to that. That's what we're seeing. But people can't transition their own mentality, thought process, or consciousness. They lack that ability, so they cling to the old notions, right? Exactly, cracked Royal Ritz. My son can't afford a home with two jobs. But what do boomers, and I don't mean you, but boomers say, "Oh, Gen Z doesn't want to work." It's like, why would they work if they've had helicopter parents? Their mommy won't let them go out and be homeless, right? It's not allowed. Mommy, as long as mommy has a house, they're going to have a place to live. Mommy's not dumb. She can crunch the numbers and realize, well, my son or daughter, and probably the son more likely than the daughter, can't fucking pay his way in the world, and it's not necessarily his fault. And why should he go slave away? Only a fool slaves away to make rich corporations richer. Meanwhile, based on the bullshit phony government numbers, whatever rate the GDP is growing at, corporate profit is now growing at double the rate of the GDP. So that means when the millennial helicopter parent sends little Johnny Gen Z into the workforce, then he's slaving away so that the shareholders and whoever is enriched by the corporation stealing everything. And make no mistake, these corporations are just stealing everything or being given everything. They're not out competing each other. They're not providing products and services that enrich people's lives. They're scamming people through psychology and manipulation and sucking out the life, you know, like again, life cereal. Mikey likes it, right? They're sucking that out of everybody, and people are so. And the boomers and Gen X are the worst of all because they're the ones, my generation and actual boomers. I understand the young folks can't tell the difference between Gen X and boomers, especially online, but either way, it's boomers and Gen X that bought all this corporate BS hook, line, and sinker. Gen X was the Pepsi generation, lest we forget. That's only because we had so much, because we had unlimited Coca Cola, and we finally said, well, shit, we burned out on Coca Cola, give us Pepsi, right? Some bastardized notion of give us Barabbas, I suppose, give us Pepsi. Now here come the Michael Jackson, and the Pepsi generation set his fucking hair on fire, right? Who remembers this? They say, okay, boomer. And then now Gen Z is blaming the boomers for wasting all the resources as if we had a choice in the matter. And then they're now romanticizing old tech and they're acting like they want to go live in 1987. Are you crazy, Gen Z? Yeah, well, this place is dead. See that I figured it out. I don't know if you've listened to me before, cracked Royal Ritz, or maybe you've been around here. I never know who these names are, but and it doesn't matter for the purposes of this discussion. But having unlocked the achievement within the world of death and the game of lies of true knowledge of self, now that I know exactly what I am, I know what this place is. This place contains no life whatsoever. The trees aren't alive. The animals are not alive. The grass is not alive. The air is not alive. This is a world of death. What I am is the only thing that's alive here. And I don't mean me, the personality, or me as an individual person. I'm talking about at the core spiritual soul essence level. That's the only thing that's living here. And and then maybe that's the case for you as well. I don't know. Uh, there has to be room for the philosophy of solipsism, which of course philosophers will tell you, well, that's bullshit and it's null and void, just like nihilism is null and void. No, it's not. It's contextual. There's no meaning out here in this world. None. You can go search for meaning all you want out here in this world, and you will never find it. Now you'll find delusion, and you can be in denial and be deluded, and you can trick yourself into thinking you found meaning. No, you haven't. There's no meaning whatsoever to be found in this world of death and game of lies, and there's no life to be found. The only possibility of meaning and life is within myself. The kingdom of air quotes so-called God is within you. Well, if air quotes so-called God is love, and Christ in the Bible said the kingdom of air quotes so-called God is within you, now I know. Now I have a location within the context of time, space, location, place here in this vacuous, delusory, adversarial realm of business transactions. See, that's what this place is. This is a vacuous, delusory, adversarial realm of business transactions. And if you ever asked yourself, why does literally everything have to be based in business transactions? How you eat, where you get the food, how you get the food, how the food is grown, business transactions, right? Uh, how you access any resource whatsoever, business transactions. Everything comes down to a series of business transactions, right? Yeah, there's no meaning. There's no possibility of meaning. So, of course, the system tells you to worship a man in the sky if you're dumb enough to believe in that. Or it says, well, go out, I am woman, hear me roar, go out into the workforce and seek meaning through a career, right? Now, maybe there is a possibility of meaning as a mother and a father, right? But not without finding the meaning within first. And you better teach them children how to find the meaning within them, or next thing you know, they've been sacrificed to Moloch's machine of industrial and post-industrial society, and they're off getting their university indoctrination, and they're off serving corporations. Death. And then Coca-Cola, the strongest brand in the history of humanity, calls itself the real thing. No, that's a mockery. That's a ridicule of what I am. What I am is the real thing. And again, not me, the human being, not me, the personality, the core spiritual being. That's the real thing. That's the power. Not this world. It's dead. The money's dead. The people are dead. Society is dead. It's all dead. Let the dead bury the dead. That's what render unto Caesar means. And meanwhile, the churches don't pay taxes, and then the people enter into the church and they place themselves under the authority of the church, who instructs them to go ahead and pay taxes. And what do the taxes pay for? Well, most of it these days goes to pay the interest on the national debt, and that goes to whoever invested in, securities and bonds or whatever to fund the government through debt, right? So that it can exceed the amount of money it takes in every year. But then, some of it pays, sure, for a smattering of, about 130 billion a year in Section 8 and food stamps, nothing, which is basically nothing. And then, whatever's left pays for murder, mayhem, right? Oppression, death, depravity, destruction. As corporations get money for nothing, banks get money for nothing. And that's the only way that all the big banks, after becoming fiscally insolvent following the 0809 GFC global financial crisis, they all made record profits coming out of that because the Fed interest rate was damn near 0%, meaning all the big banks got essentially free money that they could turn around and lend to corporations in a short window and basically get 3% for doing nothing, for providing no services and for adding nothing to the economy. They got and continue to receive free money. And then the American people are angry and jealous and envious when they see their neighbors barely surviving on Section 8 and food stamps. They don't like to see that. But there's not a rich person living next door to them stealing and scamming. And then every once in a while, somebody that lives in one of those $1 million homes in a cul-de-sac somewhere and has a certain image on social media and they have nice cars in the driveway. Every once in a while, it turns out they've embezzled 15 million over the last 5 years from the church, and that's what they've been living on. Or they embezzled however much from their employer, or they figured out some way to scam Social Security to the tune of tens of millions of dollars. See, and that's the type of person that will see me penniless with my dirty feet in the streets as a homeless person, ranting and raving and preaching and hooping and hollering, and they'll look down on me. See, and a man of righteousness in a state beyond sin. Oh, but that's right. Saul of Tarsus, aka the Apostle Paul, well, he got the church to sign off on his direct experience of Christ. And then he, unlike Christ, who they never bothered to put in jail, they never bothered to put Jesus in jail. They just waited till it was time to kill his ass. Saul of Tarsus, they didn't even bother to kill him. They just kept putting him in the jail so he could write his early version of letters from the Birmingham jail and to found Christianity, right? And he wrote about, Paul claimed that, no matter how pure his intention, he ends up serving evil anyway. So then the church uses that to teach everybody else that. No, absolutely not. And it's not Christ dying for sin to redeem what? The sins of a world of death via games of lies? That doesn't even make sense. The idea that everybody's a sinner. Well, let me ask you this. Have you ever cleaned a toilet? And if you say yes, then I guess you're a janitor. I guess that makes you a janitor. So if I poll the audience and say, are you a janitor? Is every hand go up? Oh, I guess y'all have never cleaned a toilet then. Because that's what the idea that every human is a sinner. What? To commit a sin makes the identity become identified with being a, quote, sinner? Well, if that's true, everybody that's ever cleaned a toilet's a janitor or a housekeeper or a maid. You ever made your bed? I guess you're a maid then. See how it works? See the game? Meanwhile, if I entered into this matrix via my mother's womb, which is another word for matrix, if I came into this place, right? My entree into this place was that I was born in my birthright in the context of this vacuous, delusory, adversarial realm of business transactions is to have been born spiritually perfected, right? Then that means that no, this idea that everybody's born a sinner. No, absolutely not. Lies, the lies of the church. Christ didn't teach that. That's not anywhere in the gospel of Christ. That's the gospel of Paul. Nope. Nope. The Holy Bible in the English language filled full of lies, chock full of lies. Yep. Believe that. Anyway, I guess nobody's going to join me. That's okay. Now I'm just preaching. My chat doesn't want to load. Yeah. I don't know if that's true, but I'm inclined to believe you. Freedom Grower said Paul also said he would catch you with guile to believe his doctrine. Yeah. What's up, modern men lost again in the house? Well, comfort and convenience, Goblin. That's what the Antichrist. The Bible talks about. That's what the Antichrist uses. Is convenience and comfort, also known as safety and security, right? And so here's the entire purpose of the Christ story, or Christ as sacrifice on the cross, is to show that the Son of Man in the dead flesh, in this realm, in delusion, absolutely has the capacity to express in perfect righteousness beyond so-called sin, transcendent of death in the moment. Now it's here, now it's gone, now it's here, now it's gone. In the now, absolutely I have the capacity to express righteously in a state of righteousness transcendent of so-called sin and the death of the flesh. Otherwise, there's no point, because the church will say, well, yeah, but you have to wait for the afterlife. You have to wait for, you have to uh, check all the boxes down here in this hell pit. And then it's this idea that God, Father God's going to put his fucking glasses on and he's going to go through the scrolls or the Akashic records, and he's going to scrutinize every moment of everybody's life, trillions of humans, however many humans have supposedly lived, and he's going to decide who makes the cut and who isn't. No, the wheat separates itself from the chaff. Because what doesn't live, it casts itself into the pit of death. It throws itself onto the fire, the lovers of death, by not expressing righteously consistent with a nature of righteousness transcendent of sin. There's no reason for an intelligence to crunch the fucking numbers and decide who makes it. That's lies of the church. That's nonsense. That's another inversion, right? It's the truth inverted. The truth of the matter is, if it originates here, its nature is death, and it cannot leave this place. Because what I am will never know death. What I am doesn't know what that is. What I am doesn't know. And anxiety's dead. Depression's dead. Fear is dead. Mockery is dead. Ridicule's dead. What I am can't experience any of that except in this place, in a state of delusion based on there's a time and a space and a location and a place. Nonsense. The possibilities of all of that exists within an indivisible force known as the highest form of power and love possible at the highest levels of vibrational frequency, a quickening spirit, also known as what I am. That's what Christ meant in the Bible when he said, and see, what should be in parentheses is what I am is the way, not Jesus, the person. What I am is the way. What I am is the truth. What I am is the life. No one comes unto the Father, air quotes, because remember, Christ wasn't free to speak his mind. He had to code everything back then, or it would be they would get that court case drummed up against him quick, fast, in a hurry. He had to bide his time to some extent. In what context did he speak those words in? Pharisees following him around, trying to trip him up everywhere he went. So no one comes unto true knowledge of self except through me, meaning Christ consciousness. See, Christ consciousness. And again, where is the kingdom to be found? In here. And then the church wants to say, oh, well, actually that was a mistranslation. It's actually among us. Bull shite. Bull shite. That's why I'm a KJV only guy. And even then, I don't even need the Old Testament, except I like Psalm 23 and throw out most of the New Testament. Right? What I am is holiness. See, true knowledge of self is where the person understands and knows that what I am is the holiest of holy. But again, not this dead flesh, not this psychology, not this thought process, not this collection of experiences, not this performance, and not this performer. The core essence of the being is holiness, the holiest of holies in here, not out there, not anywhere to be found out there. So keep looking for it out there. It's not to be found. Keep looking for any signs of life out here. It's not to be found. Keep looking for love out here. Looking for love in all the wrong places. It doesn't exist. This world doesn't know what love is. This world doesn't know what acceptance is. This world doesn't know what tolerance is. No idea. This world understands love based on the lack of love. This world understands tolerance based on intolerance. This world understands acceptance by rejection. It backwards rationalizes in an animated death wormed over, ghoulish, garish fashion what it thinks love would be, what it thinks tolerance would be, what it thinks acceptance would be. See? And until the being gets out of their own way enough to apprehend the truth within, all that can happen is for them to be led off into folly, lambs to the slaughter style, by this system of things after being sacrificed to Moloch, aka industrial and post-industrial society, by the parents. That's what's happened. And the parents were sacrificed. That's just what's happened here, folks. That's what's happened. I don't know what to tell you, but don't kill the messenger. I didn't do it. Benton didn't do it because what I am is not capable of that. See, and it's all based on pretty much everybody that's considered a thinker, right, agrees there can't be nothing. Well, as soon as everybody agrees there has to be a something, what's that? That's a proposition, and a proposition is a what? A thesis. And as soon as you have thesis, you must have antithesis. You can't have a thesis and not have an antithesis. An antithesis is what this world is based on. This world is the world that makes an enemy of what I am. And if what I am is representative of blessing itself and is represents holiness symbolically and represents the source of all life and ever expanding manifested truth in creation, then antithesis in this realm is the realm that makes an enemy of what I am. See? And mocks and ridicules and can never honor for even one moment what I am. This place can't. All this place can do is run everything through the gauntlet of business transactions. This realm can only measure in dead money. And the only way to transact in dead money is to transact in death. See? It's the only way to transact in money. And so, yeah, maybe Benton's going to go back to truck driving, and maybe he's going to temporarily justify it to himself and say, well, Benton, you're not paying federal income tax, so it's okay. Well, the money itself is still representative of death, destruction, pain, struggle, strife, torture, children separated, ripped away from their parents, right? All of the things the government does in the name of the people, right? Everything that the authoritarian American citizen, because you can't have an authoritarian government without having individuals that comprise society. They're authoritarians too. These Americans out here individually are authoritarians. They obey. They do whatever they've got to do to, oh, we got to feed our kids. You fed them to Moloch. What are you talking about? They say eat the rich. That's backwards. Starve these motherfuckers out by refusing to go to work, refusing to transact in US dollars, refuse to support this system of things. That's the only power. The only winning move is not to play. So ultimately, yeah, I can justify it to myself in the short term all I want. And yeah, it's a step. It's a step in a process. But after baptism, Christ did not work a job. I don't want to hear this. He was a carpenter bullshit. Not after he was baptized and started his ministry, he wasn't. He did not accrue tax liability or pay taxes, and he did not handle money. Blam. So tell me again that Gen Z can't working two jobs, can't afford a house. Good. Maybe they'll figure it out that there's really no point in even working a job, that the job itself is the problem. It's not the system that's the problem. The problem is that people continue to sacrifice themselves and throw themselves onto the funeral pyre of death of this realm, just happily flinging themselves onto the smoldering fires of Moloch, right? And looking at the Aztecs or whoever else supposedly did human sacrifice and saying, boy, I'm glad that's over with. What are you talking about? It happened. It continues to this very minute. It just happens to be more figurative than literal in a sense. And the lovers of death, they love to see it. I have people that come to my channel every morning and listen to me talk about all this stuff. And heck, they probably get off on it to some extent. They love hearing it described. They love hearing all of this described. Well, Dick says Paul asserted his own uh, apostolic authority, and he went to Ananias and he took his affidavit to Ananias and had Ananias sign off on it too. He cursed, he blessed slash cursed the church into that. Dick, and see, this is about the only thing me and Dick really truly agree on. Uh, that and maybe some health related stuff, and which is fine. And for me, I don't need us to agree, but you know, uh, anybody can see the failure that is the Christian church. I mean, that like my favorite coach of all time, Nolan Richardson from El Paso, Texas, who came to the University of Arkansas, bless him, bless his heart, and was mistreated and subjected to racism and delivered the only national championship in basketball. But like he said to Billy Packer during the 1993-94 NCAA tournament, Billy Packer wanting to act all smart. And he said, well, a blind man could see that, Billy. And that's why we love Nolan. That's why Arkansas loves Nolan. He said, well, a blind man could see that, Billy. And so I don't know that I get credit necessarily for being able to call out the church. And, I don't know that Dick feels that great about it, but because it really don't take that much to see this thing. So why can't they see it, Dick? Because they won't see it. Because their status quo, social contract, and peer group conformity boils down to Christianity, churchianity. The church, in order to maintain a modicum of respectability, says, well, we can't pay for death, destruction, and murder through taxation. So the church doesn't pay taxes, but the church tells the people that come to church to pay their taxes. And the system loves it. The system goes, oh, yeah, Moloch is well pleased. Moloch says, you go, girl. You go, boy. Rub their noses in it. Rub their motherfucking noses in it. You like it? I love it, says Moloch. Want to get some mo of it. Sick. Sick. Oh, am I getting emails now? Well, that's right. Screaming fools getting nowhere. The echo chamber. And you know where, the only place there won't be an echo chamber? In here. It's called the mastery of the flesh. It's called Benton, and it doesn't have to be me, but I'll give you an example. Here's a victory over the flesh. It's Benton becoming so victorious over his flesh as his body continues to make, um, you know, medically measurable, off the charts levels of male androgen hormones, even at the age of 50, sky high testosterone levels that and I don't want to get graphic here, but I'll just say a man has a particular piece of his anatomy that a woman doesn't have, and a man of 50 years old, if the gun isn't fired on some sort of a regular basis, if you get my meaning, it becomes very uncomfortable in a certain area involving a something that about the size of a walnut that a man has that a woman doesn't have. And eventually the fella says, well, I just have to go ahead and manually operate this equipment because this is getting too uncomfortable down there. And then the man does that and is reminded of what the flesh is. And there's no pleasure there. Now, a person has the freedom to view that. They have the free will to experience that at a low level of death and say, well, that's gratification. It's not. Not once the being internally bootstraps mind, body, and spirit and raises their consciousness. And years ago, learned how to freely circulate the energies of the so-called lower chakras throughout the entire system. There's no enjoyment in that. It's actually pretty fucking gross if you think about it. It's like it's not that great of a thing, honestly. And you know, meanwhile, how much of the idea of a carrot and a stick of this realm, especially for men, but women have their own versions. But how much of the carrot and the stick is, well, do what serve evil and serve wickedness, and maybe maybe you'll be able to do something specific with that stick there, buddy. Stick man, right? Swordsman, right? Instead of the word of God coming out of the mouth like a sharp sword, shing. Well, maybe you'll get to use the downstairs sword, and now we're back to the mockery and the ridicule, and this realm making existing as a in opposition to what I am. Again, antithesis, antichrist. They say, oh, there he goes calling himself Christ again. No, that's what you said, buddy. I said no such thing. Benton knows exactly what he is and what he is not. Now we're getting even more truck driving messages. Oh, you're good. You're good. And see, society has become so obedient that a strong, especially male masculine voice who will, and I'm a preacher. This is my way. If I knew any other way, I would, believe me, if I knew another manner of speaking, and if what I am did not express so forcefully, right? And let's not forget, this is been on 15 years of spiritual development, daily meditation. I'm in a meditative state about 80% of every day. That's not an exaggeration. Third eye meditation. I am meditating and observing my internal space about 80% of the day. I'm not even kidding. So whatever you're hearing at the level of my energies, this is me after learning how to chill the fuck out. See? And what I would say to people is, nobody notices when I walk around Los Angeles, keeping to myself, saying nothing to nobody, calm, chill, and peaceful. Nobody notices that. They just notice when he's worked up, he's hooping and hollering, and he's got something to say. And I would say what's relevant is how quickly can the person go back to baseline. Meanwhile, you could take my pulse and my blood pressure right now, right? Give me 5 minutes of breathing, and I'll easily pass a blood pressure test. I can have my blood pressure back to normal in 5 minutes. To me, that's what's relevant, is how quickly can the individual get back to a baseline. Meanwhile, what's the average blood pressure and heart rate of the average American, especially in middle America, right? Just grab some random bozo out of Missouri or Kansas somewhere and put a blood pressure cuff on them, take their pulse. My resting heart rate is, I think, somewhere in the 60s, maybe low 60s. And blood pressure is the only time I have blood pressure problems is it's too low. I have to remind myself, maybe don't be as chilled out, right? Because I'm a truck, when I work as a truck driver, I got to pass a DOT physical at times. I've never had a problem with high blood pressure. It's been too low before. Let me get up and walk around. And when I did that medical research study, same thing. It took my blood pressure regularly. But anyway, I guess we're going to get out of here since nobody wanted to join the stream, which is fine. It's probably for the best, but I'm not going to use up any more of my StreamYard time. And we'll go see what these truck driving companies are talking about. Bye.